I also am excited about for as creators collecting information that matters to us. Like, it used to be like always have a notepad by the side of your bed so when you wake up, you can write those ideas down. And then it turned to our phones where we can take notes. I have a system right now where if I'm walking somewhere, I can click a button, I can speak an idea into it. It goes and it runs it through ChatGPT, gives me the summary, some stories I may be able to do, and some follow up questions, and then dumps it into Notion. Like that to me is like a superpower. Like that helps me create content and feel like I never lose those creative moments that I have that so many of us do. I think the building our second brain kind of thing is going to be even easier. Like I see that just being built into voice memos on Apple, and you can tell it what, where that you want to put that database. So that kind of stuff excites me as a creator that I continue as I come up with ideas, I'm able to tell those stories better and quicker to my audience.
Welcome to AI and Marketing Unpacked, where we simplify AI for impactful marketing. I'm your host, Mike Alden, here to guide you through the world of artificial intelligence and its transformative impact on marketing strategies. Each episode will break down AI concepts into manageable insights and explore practical applications that can supercharge your marketing efforts. Whether you're an experienced marketer or just starting to explore the potential of AI, this podcast will equip you with the knowledge and tools you need to succeed. So tune in and let's unlock the power of AI together. Greetings, program. Welcome back to AI and Marketing Unpacked, where I selfishly use this time to pick the brains of experts at keeping up with and integrating or layering artificial intelligence into social media, content, advertising, search, and other areas of digital marketing. Oh, you get to learn too. Subscribe to be shown how to prepare yourself and your brand for this AI revolution and come out ahead. Listen, have you ever found yourself drowning in the tediousness of editing podcasts or videos? I know I have. Having to edit my own podcast years ago was one of the reasons I stopped doing them. Don't you wish there were a faster, more efficient way to create high quality content without the painstaking hours of manual adjustments and tweaks? If so, you're not alone. Many marketers face the relentless challenge of producing engaging media content amidst tight schedules and limited resources. Finding effective solutions that don't compromise on quality, that can seem impossible. But that's where AI tools come into play, transforming the landscape of content creation by simplifying and streamlining the process. But with so many options out there, how do you know which tools to use and how to leverage them effectively? Today, we're joined by my great and longtime friend, Jeff, an international speaker and visual marketing consultant who's mastered the art of using AI tools to revolutionize his content creation process. Jeff's going to share his insight on the best AI tools for podcast editing, video editing, and image generation, offering a clear roadmap to making your content creation faster, easier, and more efficient. Hey, Jeff, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, thanks so much for having me on. This is going to be a fun time together.
I am so looking forward to this. And it's one of those few times where I get to be in this seat and you got to be in that seat
It's
as
really
the
hard.
guest. I've been your guest many times, which I always appreciate, but the tables are turned, my
I
friend.
know. I don't know what buttons to press. Usually I'm pressing all sorts of things, and now I just have to sit here quietly with my hands in my lap, I guess.
That's, that's right. So let's start off by having you share a little bit more about your background and how you got into using AI for content creation.
Yeah, so I have been like a video audio editor for a long time. I mean, you and I both met back in the Google Plus days, so we have been around the block, which means we're long in the tooth, I suppose. But yeah, so I've been doing content creation for all that time. Worked for a bunch of different companies. I Social Media Examiner. I worked for them for a long time. They were one of my biggest clients, and then I've done stuff with like Kim Carson right now. Even I've been doing Guy Kawasaki's podcast, so I've been deep in this content creation, social media, marketing kind of area for a long time. And that's why I've had you on my show so many times. And then when AI came out, I kind of dove in head first. One, because I'm a nerd and it's really, really interesting to me. And I wanted to make sure the robot overlords didn't come and, Skynet us to death. And then actually, when we started doing Guy's podcast it's 3.5 years ago, we started in an AI editing tool. And by using that, that has changed entirely the way I process, edit, create clips, everything. And I'm sure we'll dive into that a bit. But that was kind of what got me into it because he really liked it and he kind of wanted me to use it. I'm like, okay, I played with it. And then I dove in deep, so deep that I actually have a course on it. And it really has. It's changed the way I do podcasting, editing, all the stuff, creating content. AI has changed the world in my processes.
And just to amplify, you and I are definitely geeks and nerds. We spent 20 minutes in the green room talking about Star Trek and Star Wars before we
That's
ever hit
right.
the record button
Exactly.
for
Exactly.
today's episode. But I'm glad that I have you on because obviously I'm doing this podcast myself. I'm doing a bunch
Mhm.
of podcasts with Agorapulse. Fortunately, at Agorapulse, I have you to do
Right.
my
Exactly.
editing. So we'll chalk them up to one of the additional customers that you have
Mhm.
working for you. But what are some of the other primary tools that you're using, particularly AI based, to use for podcast editing, video editing, and even image generation?
Yeah. So the tools I use for video editing and podcast editing is Descript. I love Descript. So much cool things you can do with it. It has changed the way that I edit, especially because it's a transcript based editing, which is really interesting because now Adobe is doing the same thing like with Adobe Premiere. So it's a really easy way now for people to edit things quickly. We also dove in with the image generation process, using generative AI to create images. And I've experimented with a bunch of different platforms. We really like and still use, and I use it for all my blog posts, most all of my images, even B-roll and also other stuff for video projects. We like to use Midjourney for that. I really like it. I've used some of the other tools as well. I just think Midjourney is the kind of the bar that has been set. You can do some really cool things with some really awesome prompts. So though that's kind of the tools that I use mainly for my stuff. We use Midjourney to create all our blog images and all that kind of stuff. So Descript, Midjourney. For others, just for editing and creating images, I also use Photoshop Generative Fill, which is an amazing tool. I still use Premiere and After Effects because I just grew up on that stuff, and they've got some cool things. After Effects is kind of the motion graphics kind of standard that a lot of like even effects houses uses, and it's now you can like use it to the AI to track like something so it stays stable on a screen. You can easily take out wire removal for those all those stunt shots that I do in all my work. But that's one of the cool things you can do. Magi, you're a big fan of that as well. Minvo is one. Pix.ai I use for face swapping. For music, Suno now that OpenAI has. Still use Claude for stuff. And 11 Labs I've played with a lot. And that has a thing where now you can actually generate your own sound effects. That just kind of rolled out recently. So I'm a big AI nerd. I kind of put my hands in all the stuff and test it out because it's moving so stinking quick. But just if you had two that I had to have, if I was, wrecked an island somewhere, it'd be Descript and Midjourney. Those are my big ones that I use almost every day.
If you're wrecked on an island, but you somehow still have to edit podcasts, those are the
Exactly.
tools.
I see myself on one of those things on Gilligan's Island, which I'm very dating myself. Remember they would watch TV by like, they have that bamboo like exercise bike that they would generate
Right.
electricity with. That's what I would have. So I could do my Descript and Midjourney.
Yeah, but I understood the pain point because, like I said in the outset, I had a podcast a few years ago that just I hated having to edit it because it was, bring it into a tool and select the waveform and delete it. But you mentioned that Descript is a transcript based editor. For
Mhm.
those of you listening who want to understand the difference, when you're editing in Descript, you see the text of what was said, and you can simply delete a word, and that removes it from the audio and the video, and it's as simple as editing a document. I recently had a guest on the show where he was repeating like every third or fourth word, he'd repeat that word. So the just nonstop, like 10 minutes of the length of the
Right.
podcast. It was so effusive. And I realized early on, my listeners aren't going to tolerate listening to this person speak this way. It's just too hard to follow. And gosh, in the old style of
Oh,
editing podcasts, that would have taken forever.
it would.
But with
Yeah.
the script, it runs right through, removes all the ums and other filler
Mhm.
words, and then it's just a matter of listening and every once in a while highlighting a word delete, highlight a word delete.
Right.
Super easy. So, what are some of the ways that AI has kind of changed your workflow? Because you kind of mentioned at the outset that once you dove in, that changed a lot of your processes in terms of podcast editing, perhaps, or maybe content
Mhm.
creation overall. What specifically changed?
So, especially with the script, with the that editing that you were talking about. So the first thing, like I do a show every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Central called Social Media News Live. Have great guests. Like that's the one that Mike has been on before. As soon as that show is done, because I use Ecamm, I have a separate audio files for each guest and my co-host, as well as separate video files. So I'm able to take all three of those, upload those into Descript, and create a transcript for each one of those files. I'm able to combine those files into one project. That project has all the scripts together with everybody's their names and their certain places in that transcript, and also a waveform at the bottom. So I can, because I am an old school editor, waveforms is kind of how we used in the past to look at how things are, where to edit and where the people quit talking or whatever. And I'm able to split that way. So that's handy too, because I can still rely on some of my old skills and not just rely just on the transcript. What I do after that is I'm able to look at that, make a podcast, add my intro, add my outro, but then do what Mike said as well, where I can go and I can select what they call filler words. And filler words are those ums and ahs and whatever. Now, one of the things that I do with the script, I don't take everything out. I see, because like I've already said ums and ahs, and Mike has said them too. We've had weird stutters or whatever, but that's the way we talk. And if you take all of those out, it sounds really robotic. It clips a lot of things. And also, when you make those cuts, you're also cutting the video as well. And so for repurposing, you don't want a bunch of jumpy people around, the video file. So what I usually do, and you can unselect to select all, and I select the ums, uhs, and hms and ums. Everything else I leave in there unless it's like really, out of control. And I do that. It's process. It's done. I'm able to add my intro and outro, export that audio file, and then also export a video file, export a transcript. And I've done that in like, I don't know, a half an hour, where before I would have to go manually and do all that stuff. And now with the script, and they call it their underlord instead of
Yeah.
overlord, because nobody wants a robot overlord, but an underlord's okay. I'm able to go in, and they've really done some really cool stuff with being able to find good clips. So you can actually find clips that you can extend. It's not perfect, so you can extend it or shrink it back. So I have those to go out on social media with, because it's a transcript. A transcript editor has the captions already there. I don't have to upload it to a third party. I can do it all in one tool. Then I can export those for social media. I have my podcast, and it's just everything's in one place. You know how it is, Mike. Like, it used to be like you get something done, you download it, then you have to upload it to some place where they would create, subtitles. Then you'd have to download that file. Then you'd have to upload that file to YouTube. Being able to do it in one place saves so much stinking time. That's probably the biggest benefit of doing it all in Descript.
And that's what I'm looking forward to figuring out, because I'm doing some of those things, but I'm
Mhm.
also still taking a segment, pulling it into iMovie to add some audio and some transitions, and then putting that into Canva so that it's on a nice frame, and then I'm putting it back into the script, add the captions. And I know there's extra steps in there that probably I could just eliminate or have the
Right.
script do those things.
Yeah, you could actually you can create templates, in which what we have done for our show. If you check out any of my feeds, you'll see it's like usually in a blue background. Mike's clips are up there. It's got a title. Usually it's just my guest, and it's got it's even my custom font that it's for my branding that I'm able to upload into Script. Has a progress bar because people will watch and see how long it's going to take them to get through the clip, which I think is helpful for view time. And that's all done in Descript. I click one button after I've selected that section inside of Descript,
Hmm.
and it applies that. All I have to do is change the title and kind of adjust the timeline, and I'm done. I export it out.
Fantastic. I
Yeah.
need to be able to do that. Can you share maybe a specific example working with a client or one of your own projects where an AI tool has significantly improved the project or the task you were working on?
Yeah. So one of the things, and I go back to the Descript, because this is a feature they have for audio, and now it's actually there's a wait list for the video. It's called Regenerate. A lot of times, some of my clients will say something, and they'll either drop off the sentence or they'll mispronounce a word. And there's a thing called Regenerate where you actually can highlight it, and using the magic of AI, it will say that word in the correct way by using that guest's own voice. Now, you can't make them, type in a huge long thing and make them say that. They won't let you do that. But it will fix mistakes. If like I'm listen to a guy's podcast and he bonks a mic and it's on his track, I can just highlight that and hit regenerate, and it'll take that mic bonk out. So that kind of stuff sounds like,
Oh,
but
wow.
it saves so much time being able to do that, being able to regenerate those type of things. In fact, one of the ways I use it for myself is I do some Amazon videos for affiliate stuff. And I was doing one about an ice pack that I had gotten, and I was doing a review about it. And I said ice pack throughout the entire thing. And then I look at it, and it's actually a gel pack. And I'm like, well, crap. I don't want to read all that stuff. So I was able to go back in with these AI tools and change because it looks close enough to pack and gel that I was able to replace that, and you could not tell at all. And it saved me from reshooting an entire video just by going in and be able to replace that word.
That is an amazing example. And I know exactly the pain you're talking about because
Right.
I, things happen, a fire alarm might go off. I mean, all kinds of things can happen, particularly in interviews where it's not
Mhm,
just you. Now you've got one or more guests because I do all kinds of interviews today.
mhm.
And yeah, being able to just remove that almost magically with AI compared to in the past, again, if you had the wave editor, you'd be trying to manipulate it and cut it. And there's things you could kind of do to kind of match that
Right.
sound, but really at the end of the day, there's still going to be something there. Maybe it's just less severe.
Yeah,
That's
there's
really
one more
cool.
tool I wanna tell you about, and it's
Yeah.
there's one in Descript, and it's called Studio Sound, and there's another one
Yeah.
Adobe has one called Podcast, I can't Enhancer or something, but it's a free tool that you can use as well. But a lot of times and I have this algorithm that I have in my head that the more rich and famous a person is, the worse their tech is. Like, for Guy, I think he was interviewing, Benioff, a billionaire, right? And it
Yeah.
sounded like he just opened his laptop and started talking. It was the most horrible audio you've ever heard, and I was able to make that sound passable because I was able to use those tools. Like, before, I would have been like, how hard would it be to go to Guy, go like, "You're gonna have to re-record with Benioff." That would not have been good. So,
No.
being able to say, "Hey," and run it through these filters, and you didn't have to do a bunch of stuff. It was pretty much kind of turn it on and kind of adjust it, and then it fixed it. So those tools are like magic for if you've done any sort of podcast or you had those guests. I had one, we did a test, it was great, and then they called me in an elevator for the actual interview. I'm like, that's not the same location is kind of important. So you're gonna have those things pop up. So being able to do that and fix those easily really saves you a ton of time.
It's a nice safety net,
Yeah.
right? Like here we're recording with StreamYard, and one of the things I love about StreamYard today is that it's making this local recording of
Mhm.
your audio and your video. So if your Wi-Fi cuts out or it's garbled for any strange reason, I'm gonna have that great copy, just like you were talking about with Ecamm. Riverside does the same thing. So now the AI tools are building a lot of these safeguards in place where you might never need to use some of them. But if it's a really important interview and something happens, you have some things to fall back on. So that's
Right.
pretty cool. I know though, a lot of the folks listening, they might struggle with some of the technical aspect of this level of media production. How would you say AI, maybe tools like Descript or others, are simplifying some of these processes?
Well, yeah, being able to do the text-based editing, I think is because a lot of times if you would open up Adobe, Premiere, like, it can be overwhelming. Now, I did this Descript course because Descript can be a little overwhelming, but once you figure out the basics and the terminology, it's pretty easy to use. Their new version 6 that they just rolled out is a little bit easier. I think the way they have things laid out, it's not so as confusing. So, I think those types of things where you don't have to be, like, you don't have to be this, like, editor that went to school. You can edit your own things pretty easily, especially for making some cuts and doing things from social media and still making it look really, really nice with these AI tools. The other thing, and I'm going to kind of jump into like what you were talking about earlier about like ways it's kind of impacted things that I've done because I don't think a lot of people think about this, but I have found it very refreshing for like when I did a course for Agora Pulse and some other things is being able to now for my presentations create custom images. Before, we have always when we've done a
Yeah.
presentation, we have been looking we go to our, like Deposit Photo or Shutterstock, whatever, or even Unsplash, and we try to find something that we're kind of trying to fit in our what we're trying to get across, right? Like you kind of shoehorn it in, like, okay, that'll work, but you never know. Like other people could have used it, and you're like, I've seen presentations like, I know where that image is from. That's from Canva,
The guy with
you
the
know.
banana.
Yeah, the guy with the banana. And so I have been, and I've had so many great comments from doing this, is being able to create an image for my presentation that works perfectly for what I'm trying to get across. If it's a funny image, I can make those images. If I'm trying to make a point across, that really nails something home, then I'm able to create it, and it's all custom. Nobody else is gonna have that image that I'm sharing on screen. The other thing you can do is if you're creating this content, like, for a video podcast, is being able to use images as your B-roll. Like, maybe you can't find that perfect shot of whatever you're trying to get across, but you could probably create a static image of it and just do a slow zoom or a slow pull back using tools like Descript or Adobe Premiere. And then you have that custom image that nobody else has for your B-roll to explain, have your explainer video make more sense or cut away from you to keep people more engaged. Those type of things I think are really important and not that hard to do once you train your brain to start looking for those places to put those extra elements to kind of really enhance your storytelling.
That's a really good point. I've been doing that with my blog. Instead of spending
Mm,
time looking for,
yes.
screenshots or like you said, stock imagery to include in blog imagery,
Mhm.
I go to the image prompt and now all of my blog post images, first of all, I love them. Second of all, they're consistent, but they're different because
Right.
I tell it I want a bear in human clothing wearing a
Right.
fedora in a Star Wars setting
That's right.
doing something,
Right.
so everyone's a little bit different, but it's always this consistency of a bear and a fedora,
Mhm.
in this space setting, which some people would get, most people won't. That's okay.
But
It's
it's
mostly for
yours.
me.
It's
That's
your
right.
so, like, my stuff is all retro, like,
Right.
I don't know if you've seen the new, show Fallout. Well, it's kind of like futuristic, alternative, atomic, steampunkish kind of feel to it. I really like that style, and so Abby, my daughter, who works for me, has been helping me create all those images, and then also fits into my presentation. It's kind of that, oh, I can't remember his name, Norman Rockwell, but kind of scientific comic book style.
Mhm.
And so it's been really fun. And when you can create stuff like that, that is perfect for your brand, that just invigorates you and your audience when you're able to create that stuff. Like I've loved your bear stuff that I see coming out on social. I know it's Mike's. I know without
Yeah.
even reading the author, I know that article or that post is from Mike Alton.
And the beauty is it takes me seconds,
Right.
right? It takes
Right.
it takes minutes to come up with these images and these graphics instead of spending, 30 minutes to an hour or more
Hmm.
in Photoshop or having to pay an external designer
Right.
to do this work for you when it's basically commodity content, right? This is just stuff
Hmm.
that we're just churning out along
Hmm.
with the other stuff that the actual thought leadership or training or whatever the case may
Right.
be. So fantastic point. Thanks for sharing that. Folks, we're talking with Jeff about all the ways that AI can be brought in to help us streamline and improve the content that we're creating, like podcasts, videos, and graphics. And I've got a bunch more questions for Jeff. But first, let me share with you the tool that I'm using for all these graphics that I've been talking about at the Social Media Hat. This episode of AI and Marketing Unpacked is brought to you by Magi, your gateway to making generative AI incredibly simple and accessible. Wondering how to seamlessly integrate AI into your marketing strategy without getting bogged down by complexities? That's exactly where Magi shine. It provides user-friendly AI solutions that empower marketers just like you to innovate and elevate your campaigns without needing a degree in data science. Imagine having the power to generate creative content, insightful marketing data analysis, or even personalized customer communications, all at the touch of a button. Magi isn't just about providing tools, it's about transforming your approach to marketing with AI that's tailor made to be straightforward and effective. So, whether you're looking to boost your content creation process or want deeper insights into your marketing performance, Magi makes it all possible with a few clicks. No fuss, no hassle, just results. Ready to simplify your AI journey? Visit Magi today to learn how their solutions can revolutionize the way you engage with your audience. Don't just market smarter with Magi. Tap the link in the show notes. So Jeff, we've got a lot of folks listening to this podcast that they're just starting with AI. They've heard me tell them, look, they need to get started, start small, that sort of thing. But what advice would you give someone who's just starting to use AI tools, particularly when it comes to content creation?
So I would say to use it as a tool, not just copy and paste, right? So
Hmm.
here's an example. So I created an acrostic for like this kind of thing, like how to use AI. So and if it spells out create. So first collaborate with AI, just don't copy. R, refine your ideas with the suggestions. E, enhance your work through integration. Adapt AI output to suit your own style, and then think critically about AI's, how you're using it in what ways, like I mentioned before, having it to use for B-roll or for your own slides on a presentation, and then use it to elevate your content by using it, adding your own insights. So don't just, like I said, copy and paste. And what was funny is I took that acrostic and I said, "Hey, ChatGPT, make that rhyme for me." And so it said, "Collaborate with AI, just don't copy. Refine ideas with its help. make them snappy. I guess that was close enough to copy for the triumph. And it said, enhance your work, let AI assist, adapt and improve, add your own twist, think creatively, use AI to inspire, elevate your content, set your goals higher. So, I mean, you brainstorm with it. You don't use, now, would I put this out or like start wrapping this at a presentation? No, right? But it helps you brainstorm things. One of the tools that I really like for, sometimes image generation AI doesn't do text very well, but there's a tool called ideogram.ai, and it does a fabulous job helping you use, text in your images. And I really, really like it. And I've been getting ready to rebrand Social Media News Live to Creator News Live because that's the way we're going to go with it. And I've been using it to help me come up with logo ideas. Now, will I use one of those logos exactly that they're giving me? No, but it's given me tons of options that I'd be able to go and either myself in, like Photoshop or an Illustrator, use it to create from that, or I can give it to a designer and they can build off of that and give me all what I need, all the different types of artwork. So don't use it as like copy and paste. And I see a lot of people making that mistake because you can look and say, oh, it's saying delve, golden nugget, you know, you know, you know, those kind of words. And you're like, ChatGPT. It's like when Canva first came out. Oh, there's a Canva image. So what I like to use it is that blank page syndrome. When you look at that blank page, you're like, oh crap, what am I going to write? Or like where I don't even know where to start. AI is perfect for that, for both, writing content and also for creating images.
I couldn't agree more, and that's one of the things we talk about on this show a lot is how specifically can we use AI today in marketing. We've had a lot of great examples. I actually heard one on a podcast recently that was very much like the logo I did that you just suggested, but they had this really interesting twist where they were using it with their clients. So they would use AI as the first like whiteboard. Let's just ideate. What do we want your logo to look like? Because obviously the AI can generate ideas in seconds
Mhm.
and they can iterate and iterate and iterate for an hour if they want to. But then at the end of that process, now they've got some very specific ideas that the agency or the marketer or the designer can take back and, recreate that in Illustrator or Photoshop, whatever they're going to use, and come back to the client with something that's like almost done.
Right. Yeah. If you don't mind, let me give a couple of
Yeah.
tools that I found really helpful for image generation. Because a lot of people, they really struggle with like the prompts to use when they're trying to use for Midjourney or in ChatGPT. And inside of the paid version of ChatGPT, there you can have your own GPTs, and one is called Gilbatry. It's kind of weird, but there's a plugin that you can use, and it will help and give you 4 different images, but also give you Midjourney prompts that you could use. So a lot of times I'll run that first and then take those prompts over to Midjourney and see kind of the difference between them and if I like one better than the other. But it helps kind of spur different styles that you may not have thought about before. And it's a really great tool to kind of have those 4 different images that you can take over into something else and play with a little bit more. The other one is a website called Freeflow, and it actually has all this like database of images that you can look and see the styles, and you can copy the exact prompt from there and paste it into ChatGPT or Midjourney and kind of tweak it that way. But it's a great way to have like a visual representation of different styles that you can use to create those images.
That's a really great takeaway and reminder for all of you listening that you can use one AI tool to inform another AI tool, give you the exact prompt that you need to put into a different tool
Mhm.
want to do. What about some misperception? What are things that people maybe have wrong when it comes to AI in media production that you might want to address?
It's still not a one-click solution. Like,
Yeah.
I still see people like copy, and you've seen it, and you've seen, Amazon got diluted with books that, I mean, like, deluge of books that came out because people are just throwing them out with AI, and those aren't books worth reading. It's just there's nothing yet that's gonna be one click, and I still don't think it ever will be. Some of the cool things now, though, everybody's kinda getting up in arms about, like, taking away from artists, and I think there is some real things to that if they're scraping from those artist site, but some cool things, like, even now in sort of is it the one from ChatGPT, the Suno, the music creation, you're
Oh, yeah.
now able to upload your own sounds and beats, and then they will take it the rest of the way and give you all these different options. And the example I saw is a guy beatboxing, and then it was taking that beatbox and creating a whole song, and then he could add lyrics. And so once again, it's a tool, but it's still not there that you can just click a button and it's done for you. Hopefully that'll never happen, because I think it's just a way for us to tell stories better and get content out and, refine things. And that's a whole nother conversation. But I think the biggest thing is you still can't just click it and let it go. What I've heard it referred to as, like, treat it like it's a really stupid intern that you have to continually keep telling it over and over what to do. And that's kind of what it is now. It'll save you a ton of time if used properly, but you wouldn't take what that intern, spit out and give it to a client. You still have to come through and read it, make sure it works, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time in a previous episode talking about how much pre-work needs to go in to the
Mm.
AI to make it
Right.
really, really powerful, useful, effective, and efficient for yourself. I told you I've got a custom GPT for my pre-show production. I've got a
Mhm.
custom GPT for my post-show production. For those listening, what that means is I've got a part of the AI that's been trained to help me build out these shows. But the training took me, I don't know, a couple of hours to really
Right.
craft that GPT and give the AI all the information that I thought it would need to know. And it's more than just the name of the show, right? It needs to know, who I am, who the guests are going to be from a high level perspective, who I'm talking to, all the different things that I needed to help me build out. All those things
Mhm.
need to be taught. To your point, just like an intern. But the cool part is once you teach it how to do these things the right way that you want it to, then it just takes it and does it perfectly, swiftly, every single time. So it's
And the
amazing
cool
from that perspective.
And the cool thing with Magi, it saves all that stuff too. Like, you can, because it's getting better and better. It's kind of an arms race. Like, Claude had more words you could use, and then ChatGPT did, and so it's continued to get better. And when I first started to make show notes and blog posts for my podcast, it would time out. Like, I wouldn't be able to put an hour's worth of transcript inside of ChatGPT. It wouldn't remember that, and it would start, going forgetting things. Now there's, like, you can put books in there. I mean, it continues to grow and grow and grow, and so that's the memory is gonna get better. But once again, just like Mike said, you constantly need to refine it. You need to always check for errors, because it still will make things up, and use it as that's still use it as that stupid intern. But I'm really excited, and once again, this is a whole nother show, but the Apple Intelligence, which will, I think, even continue to be useful and have features that enhance our life because of what it knows about us and our way we talk, what is important to us, all those types of things. I think is just going to get better and better.
Yeah, yeah. So speaking of all these kinds of updates and developments, how are you keeping up with everything that's happening in the world of AI today, particularly when it comes to media production and content creation?
I listen to this show, Mike. That's all. No, uh,
And he did not pay me to say that.
that's that's so the best. I mean, podcasts and YouTube are the best thing. I find, especially on YouTube, people are kind of wanting to get the word out. My new favorite person, and you should try to get him on the show. I'm trying to get him on my show. Mike is Mike Russell from Music Radio Creative. He's got a whole nother channel now called, like, Creator AI, and he dives into this stuff. And I like his content because he's an audio editor. I mean, Music Radio Creative has created some of the openers for many, many famous podcasts, and he's an audio and visual nerd, and he's really on the forefront of some of this stuff. So that channel I really like, and there's some other really great specific, like Mid-Journey, how to write prompts, all those kind of things. So just I would go to YouTube and find the ones that are updated. Like, you want to make sure it changes so fast. Like, I look and see, like, it's the last couple weeks or the last month, because some of those things that they tell you to do are so old. Even if it's like 3 months ago, that doesn't apply anymore, because this AI world has moved so fast.
It's really interesting how different it is from where you and I came out of social media, pure social media
Mhm.
years ago. We always used to say social media moves fast. Things change all the time with
Right.
social media. And then AI came along and said, "Hold my beer. I'm going to change
Yeah.
really fast." And you're going to get seasick trying to keep up with it. We're a big fan on this show. Paul Raitzer and Mike Kaput at the Artificial Intelligence Show. That I absolutely have to listen to their show every single week to keep up with. And they've broadened, right? They're not just marketing anymore. They're just anything in AI. They're always talking
Right.
about what's out, what's the latest. It's fantastic. But one of the fun questions, because we just got done talking about how fast things change. But my last question for you is to try to think about what's coming next in the future, even though everything is going to change swiftly. What do you think are some of the future enhancements that AI tools are going to come out with that might continue to revolutionize all the media production that you're doing?
It's hard. I mean, I think it's going to get better and faster. With the content creation, I think it's going to be the thing that I think is going to be right around the corner. I think it's going to be able to pull out better clips from our content for social media. I mean, I've been playing with the new Underlord on Descript, and it's doing a really good job. I still don't think there's a way right now for AI just to do it. Like pick the clips
Yeah.
and then I can just post them. There's still like sometimes like, why did you pick that clip? That makes no sense. There's still some of that. I think that's going to get better and better, and it's going to be interesting as how the picking the algorithm that picks the best clips is going to work with the algorithm for what works best on social media, because it's going to be smarter than what we know. Like I had Katie Fox in, the person from her podcast, and they've been doing some clips, and they're putting stuff out that they didn't think would be doing good, and that's the one that has gone viral. And
Mhm.
did those AIs talk together and know something that we didn't know? So, and how much are we going to trust that they're saying this is a good clip? Okay, let's try it. So I think that kind of stuff's coming. I'm really excited how one Apple Intelligence is going to work, because that stuff that they showed in the demo is just going to be very, very helpful to, our lives, being able to have it, figure out like, oh, your mother-in-law's coming in on this flight that you just mentioned in the email. Well, and you wanted to go to eat at this dinner. Here's the map, and here's how you can avoid traffic, and you probably get here at this time so you get a good seat, kind of stuff. Like that's cool. That helps our lives. I also am excited about for as creators collecting information that matters to us. Like, it used to be like always have a notepad by the side of your bed so when you wake up, you can write those ideas down. And then it turned to our phones where we can take notes. I have a system right now where if I'm walking somewhere, I can click a button, I can speak an idea into it. It goes and it runs it through ChatGPT, gives me the summary, some stories I may be able to do, and some follow up questions, and then dumps it into Notion. Like that to me is like a superpower. Like that helps me create content and feel like I never lose those creative moments that I have that so many of us do. I think the building our second brain kind of thing is going to be even easier. Like I see that just being built into voice memos on Apple, and you can tell it what, where that you want to put that database. So that kind of stuff excites me as a creator, that I continue as I come up with ideas, I'm able to tell those stories better and quicker to my audience.
I think you're absolutely right. And I'm glad you talked about how AI is going to help us personally, because the connection isn't obvious there. It's not necessarily helping you build a graphic. But if you have a personal AI assistant that's saving you time in other areas, that means you've got more time to spend on being creative and
Right.
thoughtful and working on your business or working with clients or whatever it is those of you listening are doing. So I really appreciate you sharing that. That's super powerful. And I couldn't agree more with the clips, because I think the first time I tried to use Descript to find a clip, the first clip it gave me was my introduction to the show. I'm like,
Exactly.
no, 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 that is not
Yeah.
a clip of the
Right.
guest sounding smart. That was me saying, hey, welcome to AI Marketing Unpacked. So that was, but what's interesting is ChatGPT 4.0, which I'm using through Magi, has been remarkably great at pulling out quotes. So I did an episode with Andy Crestodina that dropped recently, and it pulled out 3 or 4 quotes from that episode that I was able to just share or highlight in a newsletter or put into a quote graphic, and they were spot on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely getting better.
Mhm.
Jeff, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. For those who want to learn more, who might want to reach out to you to collaborate or use some of your services, where should they go?
JeffC.com is the best place. That's JEFF. S as in Sam, IEH. That's I before E, especially in C. That's how my mama told me how to spell my name. One of the things is like this stuff changes all the time. Like new tools come and go. I have a thing that it's free. I'd love to give it to you. It's if you go to jeffc.com/toolbox, it's got all the tools that I use for my business. It's got all these AI tools in it. I update it almost weekly because I come across a new one that it tells you how I'm using it. It's actually a Notion's database that it's published to the web that you have access to. You don't have to have Notion. You can just go view it, but it's got all my tools in it. A lot of people really like it. It's very, very handy. So it's jeffc.com/toolbox.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jeff. I'm also going to twist his arm and make sure that he gives me the links to all the other tools that he mentioned in the show so that I don't have to research all that. Folks, that's all we've got for today. Thank you so much for listening. Please don't forget to follow us on Apple, the AI Marketing Unpacked podcast, and leave us a review. I'd love to know what you think. Until next time, welcome to the grid. Thanks for joining us on AI and Marketing Unpacked. I hope today's episode has inspired you and given you actionable insights to integrate AI into your marketing strategies. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and consider leaving a review. We'd love to hear your thoughts and answer any questions you might have. Don't forget to join us next time as we continue to simplify AI and help you make a real impact in your marketing efforts. Until then, keep innovating and see just how far AI can take your marketing. Thank you for listening and have a fantastic day.